So the Mystic Titanic Sub. Now this is the first time I've looked at it because I've been looking at other things, but it is very highly probable that this missing submarine Titanic thing, that aliens could have captured it. And I'm not just saying that, I'm serious. They could have been abducted under the water. It would have been very easy for that to happen. It would have. Considering the cigar-shaped ships have been seen going in the water before. And that's an artist's drawing of what they think it could have looked like. And over here to this side, like a Gina, honey, can you get it? Flying saucer, flying disc in the oceans. And these UFOs do go down in the water. You can see they got search crews out right here. You got this Coast Guard guy right here giving his whatever. And here are the crew members right here that are missing. I really do not see any reason why they would not have been captured. I'm sure they're not being treated illy or anything like that if they were captured. I would hope not, knowing that this would literally... Now let's think about it. The Titanic was known worldwide for sinking. The unsinkable Titanic. So with a Titanic sub, see, that's going to catch the whole world's attention. It is. Did it sink along with the crew members? Or did some type of alien craft get it? Alien beings, humanoid looking beings, capture it and take it inside their underground base, because you know China wanted to have an underwater base too. China is working on their underwater base, so it would make sense. It would. They could have coerced it to go into a shaft underwater, and I'm going to go out on a branch. I am. A great big branch. It might sound strange, but no. I'm not going to think that it would not have happened when it could have happened. If they can't find no trace of it or no debris, just like the Bermuda Triangle, the things miss. They end up missing. No sight. Their instruments go haywire. Gina, are you in the right direction? I think I am in the right direction. I am, you all. I'm going to say that being the disclosure came out, the Disclosure Project with Dr. Stephen Greer, then we get this that happens right there. And throw in some aliens, then you got yourself a story. You got yourself more of a story. You really do. Let me, I don't even know if I'm on here, you all. I don't mean to laugh, you all, but this is wild. That is where my mind is going, and I cannot help it. I really cannot. Hello, Applebrooks, honey. Hello, everyone. Yeah, I can't help it. I can't. I'm going to roll my sleeves up because we got to investigate this. Hello, love to you from Ohio, you all. I love you all, I do. Oh my goodness, this is going to be a good search. It is. I want to go see the headlines. Let's mosey on over to the headlines, you all, to see what they're saying about it, because it's kind of wild. It is. I don't know when this came out. Did it come out today? We're right over here. The latest on the missing Titanic sub and the race. If the aliens got them, if there was an underwater civilization and the underwater civilization got them, I'm going to see where I'm at on here. Hold on one second, you all. If my split screen is even working. Okay, I'm way over there stuck. Let me come over here. See, I got myself stuck in that corner right there. I'm going to put myself right here. If, let I scoot myself over you all. Let me see. I think that they could survive with the technology that is out there. So this is the Coast Guard captain during the press conference right there. And as of Tuesday night, 5 passengers aboard the submersible in the North Atlantic are subject of an international search. The vessel is owned by OceanGate and is designed to explore the site of the Titanic. Authorities estimate there's only enough oxygen in the submersible to last less than 2 days. And here's what we know. It's 21 foot. It's named the Titan. You all, let's think about the names. We got the Titanic, and now we got the Titan. Lost communication with its control center on Sunday morning, roughly 1 hour and 45 minutes into its scheduled dive. Yes. Big banker on board and signed J.P. Morgan, Trudy Horn, thank you. And the Titanic is mirrored. That's right. The Titan had been deployed by a Canadian expedition ship, the Polar Prince. Okay, let's think of that. Let's look at that word, the Polar Prince. I'm sure there's clues in even those words. About 435 miles, 380 nautical miles south of St. John's in Newfoundland, not far from the site of the iconic shipwreck. I hope they are alive. I hope that they, if there was like a alien civilization, a non-human or human-like civilization under the water, and they got them, I hope that they're surviving. I really do. The missing vessels, okay, owned by that. It's a major chronicle of the ship's decay. They were trying to chronicleize it, I guess. Pioneer in deep sea tourism for $250,000 a person? Oh my God! No. Why? Why do they want to pay $250,000 a person? The company will take adventurers on a deep sea tour lasting 8 days and stretching hundreds of miles. From St. John's in Newfoundland, Canada, explorers travel 380 miles offshore and 2.4 miles below the surface. If successful, they can catch a glimpse of what's left of the 1912 iceberg crash disaster, which took the lives of all but 700 of the Titanic's 2,200 passengers. The ship is slowly succumbing to metal-eating bacteria. That ship right there. Okay, yeah, we're looking at it. You sign a massive waiver that lists one way after another that you could die on the trip. So they knew they were going to die. They had to sign the waiver that you could possibly not come out of here alive. You all, that's what they did. They mentioned death 3 times, you all. I don't mean to be kind of laughing, but the way this article is written, they mention death 3 times on page 1. So it's never far from your mind. As I was getting to the sub, that was my thought, that this could be the end. The one-way ticket. Death. Okay, I think there's keywords in this article. Keywords you probably need to hang on. 3 times. That's probably a clue right there. Just that phrase, 3 times, and then death is never far from your mind. You could die. You signed the massive rate. Let's see. During the dive. What is this guy saying? Let me see if I can come over here and turn. Let me push this back to me. I want to turn on the audio so you all can hear it talking. Let me do it. Do this one. I don't want a big echo. It could be an echo. Let me do it. Let's see it. What is he saying? Ready? Let's do it.
People should know you to even get on the boat that takes you to the Titanic, you sign a massive waiver that lists one way after
Yes, the
another
colors on his shirt.
that you could die on the trip. They mentioned death 3 times on page 1. And so it's never far from your mind. You try and put it out. But as I was getting onto the sub, I mean, that was my thought, well, this could be the end. So, nobody who's in this situation was caught off guard. It's very bad things broke this way, but you all know what you're getting into. It's really exploration. It's not a vacation, and it's not thrill seeking. It's not like skydiving or something. These are people, these are explorers and travelers who want to see something.
Okay, that's like, the colors are like the Red Cross on that boat. It was like white and red. So I think that got rid of my echo. White and red on that boat. Let's see what else is down there. Let's see who's on the boat. Am I echoing? I wouldn't be able to tell because my phone keeps resetting, is what it's doing. It's humor today. Yeah, at Red Cross. Well, it really had those colors on it. The Red Cross colors. Let me do this. I want to see if I'm echoing because I don't know if I am. Maybe it's just me. Okay, it's just me. Okay, I want to turn that down, and I want to go over there. And okay, that's perfect. It contained 1 pilot and 4 paid passengers called mission specialists. Okay, now let's think about this. What if these men, they were on a trip to meet with the aliens, the extraterrestrial, the civilization that is under the water, because we know that a lot of the water, the oceans, have not been explored. What if these men were chosen to go meet with who's under the water? Because they're mission specialists, they take turns these are other people. They take turns operating sonar equipment and performing the task necessary. Okay, you got a British businessman, Hamish Harding. He's a chairman. Harding holds 3 Guinness World Record, the longest duration in full ocean depth by a crewed vessel. He also tracked to the South Pole. Okay, so now we got to talk of the South Pole. Something happened in the South Pole, you all. What was it? We read about something in the South Pole in a live video. What did we read about the South Pole? The neutrino lab. That's what we read about, the neutrino thing. Was that the North Pole or was that the South Pole? I can't remember. I am back. I'm back. I think that was the neutrino thing. Let's look. The neutrino thing. South Pole. South Pole. Neutrino lab. Okay, yeah, the ice cube. The Ice Cube Neutrino Observatory is in the South Pole. So we read about that this week. How do we know that they did not, make their way over there? Really? They could have. And they just make them disappear, but they meet up with somebody in Antarctica. See, that could be happening. They get on that submarine and they go under the water. And they make their way all the way over here to this observatory in Antarctica, where there is a known base in Antarctica, an extraterrestrial civilization. I think they could have went over there. I really think they probably could have went over there. Now let me come over here. So we're going to read some more. I'll get off the neutrino lab. Okay. They circumvented the Earth in less than 48 hours, and they visited in Blue Origin's New Shepard rocket. Shahzada Dawood and his son, Suleiman, two members of a prominent Pakistani family known for investing, were also on board the vessel, according to the statement with the Associated Press. Okay, this sounds too whatever. I don't think it's just a regular trip. A fourth person is Paul Henry Nargiolet, a French expert on the Titanic. His agent has confirmed to several outlets. He serves as a director of the RMS Titanic, the U.S. company that owns the salvage rights to the Titanic. The Times reports him completed 35 dives, so these are experts. Then there's the pilot, OceanGate. Okay, is there a Stargate around that area, you all? A Stargate? There's like some boots there. I wonder if there's a Stargate in the South Atlantic. Stargate in South Atlantic. I just like to type it in. I do. Okay, we got it. We got the Stargate Atlantis right there. It's oh, that's where they're at. They're doing an adventure, and yeah, that's probably where it's happening. Stargate SG-1. I really don't see any reason why they wouldn't be over there and going to the Stargate. If you wanna go the way of aliens and extraterrestrials, and look, Gaia has 3 suspected locations of Stargates. Look, now even though this is fandom, Antarctica information location, Earth Galaxy Milky Way builder, Stargate SG-1, and then today, NC SG-1. I'm trying to see if how could we can tie this into the one thing today. I can't remember. Well, I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to think about it right now, you all. They could have went to a Stargate. The Pegasus, Stargate Atlantis. And it would be underwater. So you can see they could have very well did that. We can hypothesize. We really can. They don't show up. They go missing. And they're on this adventure. Right there. Look at that. Beta Gate, Stargate, Sanctuary, Atlantis, Cast, reunites. Okay, so what is this? What is that? Oh, I thought this was real. Stargate Atlantis, artificial intelligent project coming this summer. Gate World. What's the name of that sub, you all? Let's see the name of the submarine, the submersible. OceanGate. Okay, there you go. OceanGate. It makes sense. It really does make sense. He's identified as OceanGate CEO. Okay. I'm thinking Stargate. I really am. Bad weather inside the Titan. Hope is quickly fading. They think that the hope is fading with them, you all. Let's talk about what they're going to say. With their hope is fading. Let me get this audio. Let's hear what he has to say. Let's come back over here. What if they got
with the
caught?
race to find a missing sub carrying 5 people in the North Atlantic? This is very serious stuff. The Titan was reported overdue on Sunday after diving toward the site of the Titanic shipwreck, it's pronounced. CBS News' David Pogue went on board the Titan last year for a story about the sub and the company that owns it. The name of the company is OceanGate Expeditions. Here's a clip from David's story.
Titan is the only 5-person sub in the world that can reach Titanic depths, 2.4 miles below the sea. And yet, I couldn't help noticing how many pieces of this sub seemed improvised.
So the pressure vessel is not MacGyvered at all, because that's where we work with Boeing and NASA and the University of Washington. Everything else can fail. Your thrusters can go, your lights can go, you're still going to be safe.
Boy, in a statement, OceanGate says this: they're exploring and mobilizing all options to bring the crew back safely. It went on to say that it's, quote, thankful for the extensive assistance that we've received from several government agencies and deep-sea companies in the search. David Pogue joins us now. David, I mean, this is just terrifying and so scary. We're all thinking about the people on board. When you heard that they were missing and there was no contact, what were your first thoughts as someone who's been there?
I mean, this entire industry, this adventure travel industry, is dangerous. Going up in the rockets, visiting the volcanoes, everybody knows the risks involved. And I can tell you that these submersibles are one-offs. It's not like iPhones, there are thousands of them that they can perfect. There's one of it. And so there are certain improvised, you know, he got the lights from Camper World. He drives the thing with an Xbox joystick game controller. So, but this is all standard in the field, and you know that it's a risk. So,
but when they first lost contact, why wasn't there effort to made to get to them immediately? How long was this trip supposed to last, number one?
Usually it's 10 to 12 hours. It's
Okay.
2.5 hours down, a few hours at the Titanic, and then a couple hours back up. Why didn't they send the alarm sooner? I can only guess it's because things go wrong all the time in this business. The time I was there, my dive to the Titanic only lasted 37 feet down, and then it had a mechanical problem and had to be hoisted back onto the ship. That's very standard. So they probably thought, well, the comms will come back.
David, to expand on Gil's question, are there any outside bodies outside of OceanGate that they paid to keep eyes on the sub just in case something like this happens?
No, it's in international waters, so this sub, as you sign on the waiver,
perfect.
you say, I
International.
understand that this sub has not been inspected or certified by any third-party body.
Whoa.
And
But if you're paying that much money, wouldn't you want to have a backup plan to the backup plan to ensure your safety?
I mean, I should tell you that there are many safety features of this sub and of the procedures. It's run like a rocket launch. There are these long checklists, and there are twice daily briefings that everybody has to attend. There are 7 different ways to come back to the surface.
Then why haven't they? That's the real question. Why have we not seen this thing come back
That's a good question.
into the sunlight?
That is the question that makes my blood run cold. Of those 7 different ballast systems, several of them work even if there's no electricity. One of them even works if everybody's passed out. It's a time-release sandbag that after 14 hours drops off by itself. So this thing should be bobbing on the surface. If it isn't, it could only mean 2 things. Either they got snagged on something on the bottom of the sea, which is pretty unlikely. There's nothing there but the Titanic. Or there was a breach in the hull and it instantly imploded.
Wow.
What do you think has happened when you look at the two? None of those are good. What do you?
None of those are good. The fact that they lost the signal 2/3 of the way down to the floor, that's really bad. That means something probably catastrophic happened to the whole thing.
The pressure is intense, but of all the things that you say were, picked up at Camper World or Xbox, the hull itself was supposed to be Boeing and NASA and impenetrable.
The hull itself it was co-designed with the University of Washington and NASA. It's 5-inch thick carbon fiber, never been done before. Everybody told Stockton Rush, the CEO and designer of the sub, that he was crazy because that doesn't work that way. But in theory, the deeper you go as the pressure builds, the tighter the water is pushing in on those silver end caps and making it more and more waterproof. So that's why I didn't worry about implosion.
But what can you tell us about this company and the people that run it? Do you think they're being transparent here?
Stockton Rush is a really interesting guy. He's built and designed airplanes. He's built and designed previous submersibles. He's a direct descendant of 2 of the signers of the Declaration of Independence. He is, I won't say cavalier, but he did say safety is relative. If you want to live in perfect safety, don't get out of bed.
Wow.
Yeah.
But they've had successful dives doing this, right?
They have. They've been operating
More
for
than
3
once,
summers,
yeah.
and they've been down about 25 times.
Let's end on hope. You have some. What is it and why?
The hope is quickly fading, I'm afraid, because in theory they have 4 days worth of oxygen. It's never been tested. Nobody's ever measured it. And we're now 2 days into that. So it's half of that is gone. If they're at the bottom of the sea.
What do you mean no one has ever been down for 4 days?
Correct. No one's ever put 5 people in there and said, start the clock, let's see how long the air
in theory,
lasts.
it's supposed to have 4 days worth of oxygen, but
we don't
nobody's.
know.
Right. That's a calculation. So either they're underwater, which is devastating because even if we find them, there's no way to rescue them. The deepest submarine rescue ever performed was 1,500 feet. That's like this. This is 13,000 feet.
Oh, wow.
There's no other craft that can get down there in time.
But everybody has an idea about where they are. Why can't they just send something down to look in that area, even if there's an explosion, as you think could have happened?
Because there's
Why can't
only
they just-
3 or 4 machines that can go to that depth in the world.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they're not, they take weeks to prepare, and they're not on site.
see.
And suppose we had one, what would we do? Try to tow this thing up? I mean, the difference between a submarine, which is a torpedo-shaped thing that drives out of port on its own, and this thing, a submersible, is that this has to be carried everywhere. It has very little power. You can see in the picture, it's just these little plastic fans, basically.
So it's supposed
you
to
have to
drop
say-
down and then just pop back up?
That's right. They release the ballast, they release the weight, and it just rises to the surface on its own.
The other thought, I think that's part of the hope, is if it's on the surface now and it's located, it cannot be opened from the inside. So it has to be found in time. They will run out of oxygen even if
Then
they're on
open
the
from the
surface.
outside.
Yeah,
That's right.
they
We
gotta be
were
reopened, so.
we were bolted in from the outside. There's 17 bolts on the outside. So
Sheesh.
the running out of air problem still affects us, even if they're at the surface right now. We need to find them.
Well, we heard someone say you need a miracle, and miracles.
Let's hope for one.
Yeah,
and we'll
miracles
have a
do.
follow-up on CBS Sunday Morning this Sunday.
All right.
Okay, I don't know who those people were. Have no idea who they were. A single plastic bottle and some Ziploc bags stand in for a toilet, an Xbox game controller, an elevator up and down. Interior lighting is from Camping World. It's the size of a minivan, not tall enough for someone to stand in. This is really getting a lot of attention, you all. Its 5-foot thick carbon fiber hole was penetrated. If it got snagged, it could be catastrophic. Why is this news story just put out there all of a sudden? Why? That's the one thing right there. Why is it? 76 crews have covered 7,600 square miles, an area bigger than the state of Connecticut. Underwater search. It could be at a depth of over 13,000 feet and a distance of over 900 miles offshore. I think they're at Antarctica. They probably are. They're probably over at Antarctica, meeting with the extraterrestrials. Because look, these below, the flying disc, they've been spotted in the area. And the cigar shapes. So there is a civilization out there. And I'm sure the alien civilization, let's call them an alien civilization, they know what's in the water, especially if the water is what they control. They know something's in their water. And I don't think they'd let it just sit there, really. We got sonar. We have sonar. How come they can't find it? With sonar and stuff like that. I think it's something much deeper going on. Where they in the ocean. If we were to go to Google Earth, we can go to Google Earth. I can get over here. Google Earth Pro. Here we go. We're going to pop into Google Earth. And someone said maybe the Kraken got them. The Kraken, if they were over here somewhere, there's the Bermuda Triangle up here. Well, that's Bermuda. There's the Bermuda Triangle right here. I don't know the exact location where they went down. Where was the exact location? Yeah, I pulled up a map somewhere right here. St. Pierre, St. John, the Gulf of Lawrence. Okay, so there's somewhere right over here in this area. Oh, that's the Titanic They could be anywhere in here. They probably got kidnapped. That's what they probably did. They got kidnapped off of the Nova Scotia. Let's see if we can even find Nova Scotia. Let's type in Nova Scotia up here. Nova Scotia, Seotia. Let's see where we're going to take us. Where are we going? Oh, Gina, you didn't get it. Let's go to Nova Scotia. Okay. So they could be over here somewhere. Somewhere around in this area. And it's really vast. And of course you got all this cloud cover going on. So they're not going to be able to see them that well at all. There's the Bermuda Triangle. Or no, the Bermuda. It's a large area. And St. John's. It could be anywhere. Anywhere. They're out of sight. Somebody knows what happened to them. They really do. Oh, you hear the echo? Let's fix it. I'll fix that echo. Let me do it. Do you hear the echo now? I think I turned the echo off now. You shouldn't be able to hear it. Someone knows where they're at over there. This is really interesting too. Let's look at this, you all. So there was a story, a 1963 UFO encounter over the Atlantic Ocean. Right here. The Bahamas. The Bahamas. An apparent incident involving a gigantic cigar-shaped UFO somewhere over the Atlantic Ocean in May of '63 would remain unreported for almost 20 years until an editorial team behind the Flying Saucer Review magazine received a letter in late 1980 from the witness of the affair. Look at that. So this is the Atlantic. Why would they hide something like that? If this thing is seen, this is the UFO emerging out of the water. This is an artist's impression based on, I guess, what the people witnessed. That's really sci-fi. It really is. And it looks like it's got smaller ships coming off of it, if you can see them right there. How do they know smaller ships would be coming off of it too? It sounds fine now, you all? So we've got this in the Atlantic Ocean. And I want to see where at in... Oh, they said somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean. Part of the reason they did not report it was it went unreported for so long. And it was so simply the witness had very little knowledge of UFO reports, as well as the fact that she found the entire episode terrifying. I know, I think they did not want it reported, you all. They didn't want it reported at all. The incident is not one of the most exciting on record. It's another incident that has a connection with official organizations such as NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, who have a plethora of UFO accounts attached to their name. And if we assume that these strange crafts are piloted by intelligent beings from another world, would it make sense that they would take an entrance in such key organizations? The witness has the details of the witness has been withheld from the public domain. We know that she was a female from a country in Western Europe that are members of NATO, and she was married to an Englishman at the time that she gave the report. Investigators at Flying Saucer Review said she is an incredibly credible witness, meaning that the account is likely equally credible. They would eventually release the details of an encounter in 1981 edition, and it's from that report that they based the following account, just what the witness said that day somewhere in the North Atlantic. For what reason were these apparent visitors here in the first place? Look at this. So we're just going to look at these because it's probably going to be too long to read. So let me put this link here for you all who may want to read this, because this would be really interesting to read. Let's come over here, you all. See this. I'm going to push that button because it's got some lot of details, but we don't want to get caught up in all these details. You can see it yourself. Something dark and absolutely tremendous at over 35,000 feet. The only witness to a truly extraordinary event. Many details that showed up elsewhere. Another account to keep on the collective mental back burner. U.S. Highway 81 incident. Silent. Oh, these are all different things. Okay. all different things. So let me see this, you all. According to the witness, the incident took place in 63, the first or second week, when the NATO employee in the capacity of an English language secretary in France. It was around 10 a.m. when the DC-8 left the runway at Orly Airport in Paris. The weather was perfect with clear visibility as the pilot took the plane to just over 35,000 feet. The witness recalled that there appeared to be a feeling of military control on the plane. Let me get this. On the plane that day, although the fact that there was only 50 NATO staff on board, the plane made it appear decisively empty. Because of this, the passengers had an array of seats to choose to settle down in for the majority of the journey. The witness chose to sit to one of the windows, which she recalled was a lot larger than a standard commercial airliner window. Look at that massive ship, you all. Right there. Coming out of the water. How do we know that this really isn't what it really looks like? How do we know it's not? We don't. We don't know that it's not what it looks like. It could be the real thing. And how did they know to put these designs on it, really? Cigar-shaped UFO flying over the water, an artist's impression. And if AI drew this, then they told him, and AI has more information, that it can compile an image with all access to everything that it has. Let's look at this. It was as she was preparing to settle in her seat with the cold waves of the Atlantic blowing ocean below them. She noticed a strange object below them. She would describe it as something dark and absolutely tremendous. What's more, it stood out in vivid contrast to the brightness of the early afternoon sky. Well, I'm sure it would. When she moved her face as close to the window as possible so as to get a closer look, she would see the object. I think I've got the object on here, you all. Right here. Well, let me pull the object up on here. I'm going to pull this object up, you all. She saw it. I'm going to come over here and pull it down. This is the object she saw. Right here. She is on the airplane right now, and this object is what she is seeing. It stood out in vivid contrast to the brightness of the early afternoon sky, and when she moved her face as close to the window as possible so as to get a closer look, she would see what appeared. The object looked like a gigantic dark gray torpedo. And she would elaborate that the object appeared menacing and frightening as she continued to watch it. She continued to observe the strange object for several minutes, and she was unable to see any wings, any windows, or any apparent propulsion systems or engines, although she would describe what she believed was the black of the object as cut off sharply and squarely. The witness would estimate the object was around 6,000 to 7,000 feet below them. She watched it for several more moments until it disappeared into the clouds. She suddenly looked around the plane, and it appeared that she was the only person who had noticed the strange object below. And she would debate with herself whether to mention what she had seen. However, she feared that they would not believe her. So this is a woman flying over the Atlantic. She's got 50 NATO members on board this gigantic plane, and she's the only one who's noticing it. As she sat in her seat, she began to ponder whether the object had any connection to nuclear weapons. Although she would indeed remain quiet for the time being, she resolved that she would speak to a colleague in Paris with expertise in nuclear matters. However, as she would later reveal in her report, she would decide against mentioning the incident. It was while she was considering these things that the plane suddenly began to shudder and pitch up and down violently. Although she told herself that this was just normal turbulence, she knew that she had not experienced anything such as intense as that, or as prolonged as the disturbance appeared to be. And what's more, she could not shake the feeling that the disturbance to the flight was due to the object that very well might still be below them. She would begin to research what the object might have been, and she would do this privately before finally issuing her report to the UFO magazine in 1980. And we can see right here, it's unfortunate that there were no other corroborating witnesses to an otherwise intriguing account. And while this is something that the skeptics to such accounts will use to their advantage, aside from the apparent credibility of the witness, as well as the credibility of those behind the one-time UFO publication, the fact that the account, not overblown or dramatic in any way, would suggest it to be authentic. And it is certainly possible that there were other witnesses on the DC-8 that afternoon. It also is equally possible and plausible that they opted out to keep the sighting to themselves in the belief that they were the only person to have seen the strange object. They probably were not allowed to open their mouth. They probably were not. As we have discussed before, they are very likely a host of UFO sightings that gone unreported simply because witnesses fear being labeled crazy or simply a liar. Look at that. This is another one. A flying disc over the Atlantic Ocean. It's like the one that was over the Chicago O'Hare Airport in, was it 2006? It hovered over gate C-17. Is that what it was? Yeah, C-17. And it spread all around the world. Then it shot straight up into the sky and created a hole in the cloud, and oopsie, got my glasses, and then it disappeared. And they found like a galaxy. It was called the NG C-17 system, like I don't know what it was, like constellation. It was 17. They wanted to make sure they got the number 17 out there. So look at this one right here. Perhaps to make the count credible, the details show that up in other reports, not the least the shape of the object itself, there were a great many UFOs of disc shape or even triangular, a great many sightings of cigar-shaped objects, and can also be found in the mountain of UFO reports. They got all these mountains of UFO reports. And what's more, so can the detail that there appeared no obvious source of propulsion of this thing right here. None. What was interesting, they said, and often overlooked, is the fact that the incident occurred over the water. And many UFO sightings occur on or near the water. And at least according to researcher, many of the objects witnessed over the seas and oceans of the planet are cigar-shaped craft. And might this have something to do with their them potentially being an aquatic environment? Perhaps as such, a shape would likely cut through the water all the easier. What the connection between such craft and water is, however, remains a mystery. So they're hypothesizing that there is quite possibly an aquatic environment down there. And if there is an aquatic environment down there, you all, then this Titanic Sub, since it's over there in the Atlantic, it's highly probable that something like that has got it, and they're down there in that environment, and they're alive. And if they are alive and they're down there, and the authorities do not want people to know that they are, then they're not going to let it out. They may say, well, they're just dead. They just died. We don't know what happened to them. But they're hypothesizing that this cigar ship that they saw flying over the water with 50 NATO personnel on it, that there was an aquatic environment because it came up out of the water. And what would these beings look like? Would they look like half fish people? Really, with gills and stuff like Aquaman or something like that? They're obviously super advanced if they can fly out of the water, much more advanced than we are. And then you have China building their underwater base. So something is not right, but they have brought this news out in the open for the whole world to see at this period of time in history, right when the Project Disclosure came out with Dr. Stephen Greer on June the 12th of 2023. And then the sun had lots of explosions the day after, and all these craft were flying across, all in the air around the NASA products. You could see them. There was something happened with massive explosions occurring, or solar flares, whatever you want to call it. And then I'm sure that there's supposed to be another UFO thing coming out this summer too, when I guess the Pentagon or somebody finishes their thing with their experts and they give their final reports. This is all leading up to UFOs, as far as I'm concerned. Something isn't adding up, but it does add up. And we got missing people. So I'm going to go, you all. This is really intriguing. And they very well could be alive. They really could be somewhere under the ocean in an aquatic environment. I'm going to go. And you may have some different theories, but I like to think of the UFO theory because it's really plausible. It is. So with that being said, thank you, and thank you, moderators, and hello, wherever you are in any part of the world. Hello, from my heart to yours, love you. Have a wonderful rest of your evening, and thank you so much for tuning in. Please comment, put your thoughts down below. Other people like to read the live stream comments. They really do see what was being said during the live stream. Thank you once again, and good night.